Okay, so this AU, Deku and Todoroki are born as twins instead of, separate. But in this AU, Deku will be born with red hair instead of his normal green hair. And with him being born with red hair, Endeavor doesn't want him because in most cases being born with only one color means you're born with only one quirk. Or at least that's what Endeavor thinks, so Endeavor tells Ray to get rid of Deku because he thinks of him as like a failed experiment. And Ray, knowing what Endeavor will do if he stays around, she gives Deku to one of her old friends, Inko. In this one, I'm saying that they're old friends, so yeah. Now, skip to. Deku grows up as a Midoriya, seeing seeing his fiery red hair, he knows that he's adopted. So at the age of 4, he asks Inko, and she tells him that he is actually Todoroki, but that his father didn't want him, so his mom took him and gave him to Inko in hopes that she would raise Deku to be, well, happy. Um, then to the Quirk Doctor. Uh, Deku was born with an advanced fire and ice quirk. Well, an advanced ice quirk, but fire as well. Where he can shoot fire and ice from any part of his body or grow ice in a 35-meter radius. Like, he can grow ice around things or to push things up. And basically, yeah, he can do the same thing as Todoroki, where he stomps on the ground and creates that iceberg with spikes, I guess you can call it. Skip to 7-year-old Deku. Uh, his red hair stops growing, and then a week after that, his hair starts growing a white color. And yes, this is where the ice quirk comes in. His hair will keep this color permanently. Um, since he knows that his father is Endeavor, he basically doesn't want to, or he basically like embraces his ice quirk. He will still use fire on like Todoroki, but he won't use it often. Um, Now I'll skip to like the sludge villain, like so at the end of middle school, where when the sludge villain just comes out, Deku just freezes him or encases him in a block of ice. And then All Might gets there. Deku doesn't really fanboy out, or at least not as much, because he has more the cool personality of Todoroki. Um, then All Might sees what he's done to the sludge villain and asks if he can unthaw it so he can capture him. Deku does that, and then, Deku does like things where he asks him to sign his notebook. He does, and then they both leave. Seeing how Deku knows he has a quirk, for he doesn't ask for one for all or ask if he can be a hero. Um, then he shows the autograph to Bakugo because they're still friends because Deku has a quirk. Um, though Bakugo is still kind of a jerk. Um, but Deku kind of just like copies Mitsuki, where he kind of just punches him upside the head when he gets out of line. Now, skip to the entrance exam. Deku will get the highest score in the written part of the test, I guess you can call it. But then to the practical. Deku lines up at the door, like at the front part of the door, and when it opens, he rushes through. And think of like Silver Surfer. He basically does that. And he starts freezing and or burning the robots. With some, he just encases it in a huge block of ice. And keeps doing this until the zero pointer arrives. And when he starts to walk away in canon again, he hears a scream. And he turns to see a girl stuck under rubble. Deku knows that he's not able to completely encapsulate the zero pointer in ice, so he imagines freezing the zero pointer part by part until he reaches his head, and then boom, the whole robot is stuck in a huge block of ice. Then he runs up to the girl and helps her by removing the rubble, and which he can't lift himself, he uses ice to lift them. Then he helps recover Uraka to recovery girl. Then leave, watching the fights, just look in awe, because the boy just one-shotted the zero pointer robot in a matter of seconds. Deku will get a first place in with 100 villain points and 50 rescue points, which I'm going to say is the same score that All Might got when he first started. Well, 150 points, but yeah. Skip to the first day. Deku walks in seeing Bakugo sitting while this boy is yelling at him. Bakugo looks up and sees Deku and says, "Glad you made it in," with the Deku saying it back. It wouldn't be me while Deku says back, "It wouldn't be me who wouldn't make it in," while Bakugo glares and laughs. He skips to Aizawa doing the test, or doing the ball throw. Then he throws it at Deku and tells him to throw it as far as he can with his quirk. Now, Deku's rather smart in this one, so he basically makes a cannon out of ice, then freezes like the air around it. Because do you remember what happened in the sports festival with the fight with Deku and Todoroki, where he created that huge explosion? Yeah, Deku's gonna do that too. So he basically does that, and it shoots the ball out at, let's say, 2,500 meters, which shocks everyone. And Todoroki took particular attention to the quirk itself because he sees that he can do ice and fire. And throughout the trial, Deku does show both fire and ice. Okay, skip to the end of the day, and we're gonna skip to the Todoroki house, or Todoroki mansion. I don't remember if they said he had a mansion or not. Where Todoroki asks his mom if he has a brother with white hair, who is the same age. Ray says, "I think we need to talk. You have a twin." Todoroki in shock. "What?" Ray, "Your father had me get rid of him or he'd kill it. When your twin was born, he was born with red hair." "Wait, red hair? The kid who I saw has white hair." "Well, since you have an half and half quirk, it might not be impossible that your brother has the same or similar quirk." Todoroki, but his powers seem different. He didn't need to switch from fire and ice to each side. With both feet, same with fire. Maybe he has a fire and ice quirk instead of your half and half. I'll have to ask him. Bye, Mom. Skip to next day, hero class. Same lineup for battle. Um, to Deku and Ochako was Eden Bakugo, where Deku tells Ochako or Uraka, whichever you want to think of, to stay behind him as he immediately starts to freeze the building, which Todoroki does. Bakugo, seeing this, starts to blow up the ground, blow up the area to unthaw them, and then he will take a step and it will just refreeze because Deku is still technically freezing the building upwards instead of behind him. After two more steps, he'll just give up, and Deku would win just by walking past, while Bakugo just keeps yelling at Deku. And then he basically does what Todoroki does, where he walks up to the bomb, touches it, and starts unfreezing it. With the Deku getting MVP for all other reasons. Where all other fights go the same. You skip to the end of the day where Todoroki approaches Deku. And basically Deku responding with I don't know, like, sure my hair was red like yours and this was white, but I'm not sure if I'm your brother, and personally it doesn't really affect me because you're basically a stranger to me. Um, skip to the end of the night, or skip to the night because Deku asked if he was adopted. Yeah, I know, I technically did this when he was 4, but again, he's 15 now, I think, so he already forgot. And Inko, remembering that she told him when he was 4, but he probably just forgot, basically says, I should have reminded you sooner. Though I never thought it was relevant, but you are Todoroki. And you have a twin. Your twin is named Shoto. Or that's at least what Ray told me. So, or Deku says, so did they not want me? Inko, oh honey, no, your mother wanted you very badly, but your father didn't want another weakling, as he only thought of you, or thought you had a fire quirk because of your hair, and your mother or thought you only had a fire quirk, but your mother didn't, or did give you to me. Your dad or if your mother didn't give you to me, your dad would hurt you. So I took you in because I always wanted a kid, but couldn't have one. So my friend Ray entrusted me with keeping you safe. So it's true then. Well, I don't know them as my family. Now, skip to the next day at lunch where Deku talks to Todoroki. So what you said was true. I'm assuming that you told your mother, Ray, about everything. Todoroki responded, yeah. So you're my twin, and apparently your father didn't want me because he thought that I only had one quirk. Well, my mom told me something like that. Just so you know, I don't see you as family. Just because I met you, don't think... I know we're blood related, but don't think of me as a family. I barely know you. Even though you're my twin, don't expect us just become family. Skip to like the first class of your class or whatever, the first period of your class, where Razorhead tells them that they're going to the USJ. Or skip to the next day where Sue brings up their quirks and and she asks Deku what is his quirk, because she sees him using ice and also fire. So, alright, and Sue also says, so like Todoroki's. Deku, I guess you can say that. Skip to the villain attack. And they're sent to different areas. Now, Deku is still tossed in the, or still put in the water area. Sue still helps him, or, Sue still helps him on the boat, but Deku just jumps off and starts freezing the whole lake. And then Hinata and Sue jump down, and say that was cruel. And Deku saying, well, that's what they deserve for coming to kill us. It's kill or be killed. Now let's go to land. Skip to land, where Deku sees the Gracer fighting a lot of villains. Then when Deku actually gets up on land, he just freezes the ground and all the villains except for, minus the Razorhead. And then All Might arrives because, Ada still gets out and tells him. And he arrives to see a stadium full of frozen villains. And Inami, which immediately goes after Deku, Deku just freezes him in a whole block, like, think of like the size of which Todoroki attacked Sero with. Yeah, that big of a block. And so that's the USJ because now we kind of escape to the UA Sports Festival and the race. Deku basically Silver Surfers the first part until the robots. He just dodges under them, going under them or beside them until the huge pit. Now, Deku, skip to like the huge pit or the canyon or whatever you want to call it. Deku just creates a huge ice block to get him across, and then for the mines, he just freezes the ground and then unfreezes it while he's walking. And then skip to the cavalry battle, where surprisingly no one joins him because, well, he has a 10 million head point, or 10 million headband point. So he just asks if he can be alone. Now, skip to and he gets the sure. Skip to the start where Deku just makes himself an ice dome and sits in there until the end. Same standings in the tournament where it's basically the same fights. Now with Shinzo versus Deku just creates the whole ice block and sends it at him, pushing him out of bounds. Now, Endeavor, seeing that he has ice quirk, thinks that he might be the kid he gave away. Now with Deku going over to unfreeze the ice block, Endeavor knows that he has fire as well. And now he's furious. Skip to the fight with the Todoroki and Deku, where Deku knows it will be hard, but then he just copies and counters Todoroki, because Deku knows that Todoroki doesn't like to use his, fire quirk to thaw himself out, so he basically just has to wait. So yeah, they basically copy each other and show that they have the same quirk until Todoroki stops as Deku does the same and asks, "Do you think the old man figured out who I am?" And Todoroki responds, "Most definitely." if he's still watching, let's give him an even better show. As both boys explode with flames, with Todoroki only having half of his body engulfed in flames, while Deku is fully engulfed in flames, as Endeavor is now fully pissed off, as Deku just throws up an ice block and knocks Todoroki out of bounds. And then Deku walks up to Todoroki and saying, "I'm sorry, we both know this will keep going on. And I feel like you're satisfied with the result of Endeavor." Todoroki responding, "Most definitely. Thanks, Deku." As the fight with they did that because they both hate Endeavor. Like, Deku sees Todoroki's hatred of Endeavor because he knows that he has to fire an ice quirk, but he only uses his ice quirk. And Endeavor has a fire quirk, so Deku figures it out. So, skip to the fight with Ida, where Deku just freezes his leg in a block of ice, where basically now Ida can do nothing, and then Deku walks up to Ida, puts his foot on the ice block, and pushes him out of bounds. Now, skip to the fight with Bakugo, where Bakugo tries to, or Deku tries to imprison Bakugo in an ice block, but it kind of works and also kind of doesn't, because he at least gets his foot trapped in the, well, I wouldn't really call it a block of ice because the inside is hollow, but like a cage of ice, I guess you can call it. Where Deku basically says, "Well, that's good enough, I guess," and walks up and pushes it out of bounds. And skip to the ceremony where Deku gets first, Bakugo gets second, and Ida gets third. After the fights and everything, Endeavor goes to speak with Todoroki about what he saw, and Todoroki responds that Deku is his son, the son that he kicked out after birth. With Endeavor walking away thoroughly pissed off. And after the talk with Endeavor, Deku walks up to Todoroki and says, "How did father react to me knowing that I was his son he gave away?" With Todoroki responding, "Oh, he hated it since he knows that you're stronger without his help, which pisses him off even more." With Deku responding, "Nice. Now again, don't think that we'll be brothers, like you and your siblings, but maybe we can come to think of each other like cousins, if that's..." With Todoroki saying, "Yeah, I know, see you later." Skip to where they choose their internships, where Todoroki still goes with Endeavor, but Deku, immediately seeing that he has one from Endeavor, just immediately says nope. Now, All Might does still give him the internship Gran Torino, because, well, All Might has taken a liking to him, as in canon, but he still won't get the quirk. With all the, well, basically I could just said this, with all the students going to their original people. Skipping to Endeavor, where Endeavor only sees he received one person, who was Todoroki, where he asked, "Why isn't your brother with you?" Todoroki responds, well, he may be my brother, but he is not your son. He wants nothing to do with you." Now, skip to Gran Torino and Deku, where Gran Torino had seen the UA Sports Festival, and seeing how slowly it takes for Deku to build an ice block like he does in canon, or like he does, well, yeah, basically. He teaches Deku how to activate his quirk faster, and he also sees that it takes him like a few seconds to switch between them. Or now, he trains him to make it so it takes less time to skip between them and to activate it. Now, skip to Hosu City, where actually Gran Torino does give him permission to use his quirk, but only in dangerous situations. Now, skip to where they get to where the Nomus are, and Deku just immediately freezes them and also puts a small bit on the ground to stop the fires. And then he runs off to find Ida because, as in canon, he knows that Ida might be going after the hero killer. Then he sees Ida about to get stabbed, but Deku throws some fire at the hero killer, which landed. Then when he lands on the ground, Deku just completely encases him in a block of ice up to his shoulders, where he is then rendered immobile. Then Deku takes Ida and Native, I think his name is, to the heroes, and then takes him to where takes the heroes to where he first the hero killer. And they see him trying to break out of it. Then Deku just completely freezes him. And saying how he was actually granted to use his quirk, he actually gets the credit for it. Skip to where they return to school, where they're all talking about it. And Ida goes up to Deku and asks if he can forgive him for, well, quick time skip to the final exams where the matchups are the same, and basically all the fights are the same, except for the one where All Might against Bakugo and Todoroki, or Deku, where Deku just tries to freeze him in place, but it fails. And then as Deku is about to get punched into the wall, or about to get attacked, he puts up a huge ice wall to block the attack, which was smashed with 2 punches from All Might. Though in that time, he was making a plan where he could freeze the whole street, or I guess the whole street in a block of ice, so All Might wouldn't have time to dodge. And knowing that Bakugo was in the alleyway unconscious, he then runs to the same alleyway, and then as All Might was about to get there, or as All Might was destroying the wall, you could hear a huge boom as a huge wall of ice covered the street, trapped All Might inside, as he grabbed Bakugo, who was still knocked out, and left, giving them the win. And Deku goes back to unfreeze All Might because, he walks back to the alleyway where they were because All Might was about to escape. Then, starts unfreezing that so All Might could get out. After the fight, Todoroki walks up on him and congratulates them. Now, their relationship has gotten better because, they both hate Endeavor. And now Deku's actually thinking about visiting his family, or his actual biological family. Now skip to where they're told that they're going to go to the training camp. Now, Deku walks up to Todoroki and says, I think it's time. And Todoroki responds, time that you visit your family, or as Deku responds, time that I visit my family. And Todoroki responds, are you completely sure? Because only if you're ready. My issue with Deku responds, my issue with Endeavor is not the fault of your family. So I feel like I at least for owe them the chance to know me, because it's not their fault that I'm gone. It's Endeavor's. Uh, Deku is, or as Todoroki responds, only if you're sure. As Deku says, it's either now or never. As Todoroki responds, okay. Skip to the actual training camp where nothing really changes until the villain attack, or whatever you want to call it. Villain attack, invasion, whatever. Now, Deku goes and finds Koda as in normal, where Muscular is basically kill Koda, but right as he wheels back for a punch to deliver the final blow on Koda, Deku just freezes him in a huge ice block, and Deku and Koda are now running back to meet Mandalay and them, where they ask Mandalay to tell everyone to get inside now. As Mandalay asks, what are you planning on doing? As Deku responds, hopefully, I'm going to freeze this whole area, trapping the villains inside. Mandalay responds, this is stupid, but fine. Everyone, get inside the buildings. One of the students is planning to freeze this whole area, trapping the villains inside. So retreat to the building. Now, skip to 5 minutes for everyone inside, and Deku just sitting outside the door, breathing in and out. Like, think of like Iroh on the attack on Ba Sing Se or whatever, or the siege of Ba Sing Se. Breathe in, breathe out, and then boom! The whole forest is encased with ice. As Deku just sits there, as he used so much energy that he's basically about to fall asleep. As the staff exit the building to see Deku sitting in front of a huge thing of ice, in everyone's minds, just how much did he freeze and how strong is he really? Skip to the morning as Deku and Todoroki start to defrost the whole thing so that they can capture the villains. But as they see where the villains should be, there's just an empty thing of ice, or an empty husk of ice, as they escaped. After they return to school, they are told of the hero license exam. As after class, Deku asks Todoroki, is it time yet? Todoroki responding, yeah, better now than later. Skip to the Todoroki house or mansion where Todoroki enters. Deku asks if he can come in. As Todoroki responds, well, seeing as this technically is your home too, I don't see why not. Deku responding, I don't know because I haven't been or seen this place in my life. Todoroki just asks, are you coming in or not? As Deku responds, okay, I'm coming in. As Fuyumi, or Todoroki's sister, oh, Todoroki, you're back, and you brought a friend. Lucky your dad isn't here, or he'd have a meltdown. Deku whispering, really? You can't have friends over? Todoroki is responding, yeah, that's an asshole. Fumi says, don't don't talk like that. And aren't you going to introduce us? As Deku responds, oh, hi, I'm Suki Midoriya. My friends call me Deku. Um, Fumi says, nice to meet you. I'm Fumi, Toto's big sister. As Toto asks, hey, is mom here? As she wasn't put in a hospital this time. As Fumi says, yeah, she's in her usual spot. Todoroki says, thanks. Skip to 2 minutes later. Yeah, but yeah, Ray's still here because she didn't burn Todoroki, so he doesn't have this scar like I'm showing. As Ray, as Todoroki says, hey mom, as Ray says, oh, welcome back, and who's this? As Todoroki responds, this is your other son, Isuku. As Deku says, so you're my biological mom. Or biological mother, but I'm saying mom for short. As Ray basically says, oh, how you grown. Todoroki says, goes, anyway, I brought him to see his biological family. Gray asks, did you tell Fuyumi and Natsuo? As Todoroki says, no, I didn't tell Fuyumi, and I haven't seen Natsuo. As Ray says, Natsuo is usually in his room. I'll go and get them. As she leaves. As Deku says, she seemed nice. As Todoroki says, well, he is my support and against that bastard. As Deku says, in all fairness, anything's better than him. As Todoroki just responds, true. As Ray says, Natsuo, come on. As Natsuo says, oh, fine. Oh, hey Toto. As Todoroki says, hey Natsuo. As Fumi says, hey mom, why did you drag us here? Just to meet Todoroki's friend. As Ray says yes and no. As Natsu says yes, as Natsu says, and that's supposed to mean what? As Ray says, yes, I'm introducing him, though he isn't just Todoroki's friend. He's also your brother. As Natsu and Fumi say, what? As Ray says, yeah, this is Deku. As when you know, as when, when I gave birth to Todoroki, I gave birth to twins. But we said the other one didn't survive. That was because your father told me to get rid of it. Or him. Because he thought he was weak and he didn't want another mouth to feed as. So I gave him to a good friend. Fumi says, so you're my little brother. As Deku says, apparently. As Natsuo asks, how long did you know? As Deku says, actually, that, er, about the time that UA started, so like 3 months ago, give or take. Me and Todoroki had become friends over our hatred for our father. And he was one who actually told me to meet you. As Fumi says, yeah, Todoroki really hates our fathers. And having you around, he really has been opening up to us more, so I thank you. Skip to the provisional license exam. Now, if Todoroki and Deku are along with the rest of 1A minus Bakugo, are trying to strategize. As Deku realizes something. Hey guys, I have a hunch, but I think UA will get targeted first. As, think about it, they know all our quirks and everything from the way we fight and stuff from the UA Sports Festival. And even some of our fighting styles, as I think it's best to say together. As the rest of 1A agreed. Now, skip the battle where Deku seeing people come after him he just freezes the ground and freezes their like feet and legs to chop them as they just go around and uh as they just go around like attacking them or whatever you want to call it. As after that's done, they just unfreeze them and go in, and they'll pass. Skip to the fight with Mirio, where it's all goes the same except actually Todoroki gets in on this because he actually passed this time. Where Deku and Todoroki try and freeze him, but he just permeates through the ground, and it all goes the same. Now skip to the actual. I don't know if it's internships or provision or whatever you want to call it. It's not the first set, it's the second set. They actually both go with Endeavor to strengthen their quirks because sure they both hate him, but they do both admit that he can help them. As Endeavor says, I see you are finally coming around to my side. As Deku says, you can think all you want about why I'm here, but I'm just here to support my brother, nothing more, nothing less. Now, that's basically it. Bye. Um, so next week's video will be about what if Deku was an angel. Now it's basically just gonna be like your standard angel. So yeah.